Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time, back with the one and only Mr. Greg Dickerson. How you doing, sir?
Doing great, Michael. How are you?
Doing well. So video number one today, we talked about a depression. Video number two, we talked about hyperinflation. So that means video number three has to be the topic of deflation. Kathy Wood has long been a proponent of deflation is coming. The Fed pivot is coming. Now Elon Musk came in yesterday evening on Twitter and said deflation is coming. Goods and services about to be ridiculously cheap. I don't know what world he lives in. It must be nice to be the richest man on the planet. But yeah, do you see deflation as a possibility?
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that, but definitely you could possibly see some stagflation. And Kathy, she's begging at this point because the only thing that's going
Yeah.
to save her is a Fed pivot. And
Yeah.
her 5-year plan, and 40% year-over-year returns, and she's struggling. I mean, they're in deep water, and she's got no way out. And so that's why that's the narrative, and that's why
Yeah.
she's pumping
She's
that
talking
narrative.
her book. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she needs help, and it'll be interesting to see how all that turns out. And she got a long way to go to get back, anywhere near where they were,
Mhm.
much less back to even. But stagflation, I think, is a big deal, which is,
I agree.
which is more of what we're already starting to see. And the Fed's got a lot of work to do to create deflation. We can ultimately get there, but of course that also leads to stagflation.
Yeah. One of the things that's pretty interesting, I remember one of my economics professors. I wish I could remember his name, but I think it was my second year. It might have been my junior year. It's probably my junior year because it was at Santa Clara, so it had to be my junior year. He asked us, and we debated this for a full class. What does the Fed fear more, hyperinflation or deflation? What are your
Yeah,
thoughts on
I
that?
think, oh, absolutely hyperinflation. That's going to do more damage than deflation, but it's a double-edged sword. And what Kathy's point is, she's basing all that on inventories, right?
Yeah.
So, manufacturers, retailers, they still have a lot of inventory because of the supply chain issues that they have to work through. So she's seeing deep discounts to get rid of it. She's looking at used car prices coming down, but housing and things like that. But those were just obnoxiously high prices to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
So they're getting back to kind of normal. So is that really deflation? Is that really, you know what I mean? I think stagflation is more of what you're going to see, which is, still high prices, but slow growth, right? Or no
Mm-hmm.
growth. So
Yeah.
I think there's a lot more of a case for slowing growth than there is for complete deflation.
Yeah. So it's very interesting because I remember this. I remember this debate in the class, and most of us agreed with you that hyperinflation is what freaked out the Fed. Now, according
Mm-hmm.
to this professor, his thoughts on the matter, because I don't think there is a right answer. His thoughts on the matter were deflation was what they were concerned with more, and his basic logic was the Fed knows how to beat inflation, a la Paul Volcker. They know how to do it. It's not good. It's not comfortable, but they have a playbook. He goes, the Fed doesn't have a playbook for deflation. And he goes, that probably scares them more. So that's where he
Well,
came down on.
so you got to go back to first principles. What's the
Sure.
problem? So deflation, that's prices dropping, right? So what's the negative effects of that through the economy?
Well, again, deflation would lead to lower wages, lower jobs. I mean, it's lower asset prices. You probably have bad debt exploding everywhere. It could become a contagion for sure.
Okay, so how does the Fed stimulate that? Drop interest rates,
Yeah.
fiscal stimulus.
No,
So
they
they do
start.
have tools to fight
Yeah.
deflation. They are less effective in their inflation fight, as we're seeing
Yeah. They're that. Yeah.
now.
They got to be aggressive. Yeah.
Well, and I say less effective is this Fed because they have not, and that's the problem. They still don't have credibility yet because the market still doesn't
No.
believe them.
No, of
The
course
market is
not. The
still
market's up again. Yeah.
right. The market is still saying, yeah, whatever. You're going to turn, you're going to stop, you know what I mean? So they still don't have credibility. So because they haven't done what is needed, even now, even with 75 basis points, that's still not enough. You and I, we talked
No.
about that in the other episode. How much is enough? I don't know. But like you said, if inflation is still 8% and the Fed is at 4, how does that,
Still -4, folks. It's not good.
right. So you've got to, you got to get up there. And I think they realize now, and their talking points are now, we're going to stay higher for longer. We're going to do what it takes. We're not going to pivot. I mean, they're saying we're going to go through all next year without backing up.
Yeah, I
They
agree
might
with.
stop.
I
They
think
might
that's.
slow down,
I
but
think
they've said
that's
we're
true.
not going to back up, and the market doesn't believe them.
Market does not believe him. Nope. Yeah, I think Again, I think again at video number one, I don't see a depression. Again, I think a lot of people are talking about a depression has started already. I don't see it. How can you have a depression at 3.7% unemployment, 11 million job openings? I don't
Or
get it.
deflation. How are you going to have deflation? Just because, a few people have some inventory. Yeah, well, you're going to blow through that. And I mean, there's still nobody out there to produce anything.
Yeah, again, it's like new home construction, right? The other new home construction last like 2 weeks ago reported I think it was 11.1 months supply, which again sounds crazy. But if you scratch it like 1 millimeter, 10.3 months of that is just pads. Like they haven't even started yet. They're like, we'll just keep that inventory till next year. It's like,
And then,
God.
like I said about builders, so understand national builders. Okay, well, number one, they all want to stay employed. They want to keep their job. If they're not building, they're not employed. So, builders will sacrifice profits just to stay employed and stay busy. And again, as prices adjust and change, so that's where you can see some deflation, definitely in housing where it's needed. And we're going to see it there, but, not to the scale where you're losing jobs, because once that comes back into check and it makes sense and people at 5, 6, 7% can buy a new house, that's going to take off again. So, those builders need to turn, man. They need to stay busy and they need to stay employed. So
yeah, there was a builder. Gosh, I wish I remembered. I want to say Hovnanian, but I don't think that's the builder. But 2 weeks ago, they came out in their earnings announcement, and their CEO and CFO said essentially the following: "We're selling less homes to buyers, so we are going to switch communities to renters, and then we will sell completed communities to private equity."
Right, but the numbers still have to work because private equity, but they're borrowing, right? So those costs still need to come into check. The numbers still need to work, but that's what they'll do. Builders,
they'll just pivot.
Will just pivot.
Yeah, exactly. So at the end of the day, I don't see hyperinflation. I don't see deflation. I don't see depression. I see a recession, no question. I could see a 6-quarter recession, no question. And to your point, I see stagflation. I would argue that stagflation has already started. And I'm now telling folks that I think 2023, Greg, could be the worst economic year of my adult life. It's just higher rates, lower demand, recession. We could be in a recession all 4 quarters in 2023.
Maybe, but I'll throw this on the table. So Ukraine is making a lot of headway right now against Russia. So if the war ends, man, that's going to free up a lot of stuff because there'll be a regime change in Russia. And that whole energy pipeline will open back up again. There'll be a new Russia created. There'll be a new Ukraine created. There'll be, not new in the sense of a new regime in Ukraine, but they're going to rebuild. So that's a lot of stimulus.
That's a lot of demand, right? That's
a lot of demand, a lot of economic activity. Energy will start flowing again. So that will all come back to check. Markets will be off to the races. That would be a very good thing. And then you still have China, Taiwan, kind of hanging out there. But I think they've learned by watching what Russia did that we don't want to go down that road right now. So that could be a big catalyst.
It could
to kind of really spur a lot of economic activity going into next year. So, all things being equal, just given the path that we're on right now, there's always things that we don't know. We can't see whatever, right? Markets are forward looking and things like that. But I think right now the markets are forward looking to a Fed they don't believe. They think the Fed's going to pivot. They're probably looking at the war ending, potentially, Putin going away, however that happens.
Yeah, let's play with that a little bit. Let's assume in the next 30 days, Ukraine declares victory. Putin is not in power anymore, however that happens.
He's vaporized. Let's just put it on the table. He is eliminated from the planet.
Yeah, that's right. He stops breathing. That's a lot of money flowing into that. A recession would be off the table.
Right. There's
a
you'd
lot
be back off to the races again. Now, the problem's going to be inflation.
Exactly where I'm going. God, the Fed has to go even higher.
Right. So, but you could still, again, it's the interesting dichotomy of, growth and, economic activity, strong economies, but inflation. So how do you balance that? And, that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. Man, this winter is going to be very interesting to watch. It always is. But again, as investors, you and I are excited what's in front of us. We deal with the cards we have. So I know I'm still looking for deals. I'm taking your advice, looking for seller financing, businesses, things of that nature. So Greg, where can people find you?
Yeah, gregdickerson.com. And there's always opportunities out there in any environment. Bad times never last. Good times never last. It's peaks and valleys. And, hopefully and generally there's more good times than there are bad, but
Yeah.
you need those resets, you need those recoveries. And there's just so much going on right now that's just just unprecedented. There is no playbook. You don't
Yeah.
know. You got to be data dependent, right? You got to go day by day, week by week.
Mhm.
And, the wild card is this Fed, that has completely, how many, I mean, they have a huge, thousands of people that work at the Fed and
Yeah.
central banks, and all of their
PhDs. Yeah.
economists and
Mhm.
analysts, and their budgets are just obnoxious how much their budget is, and they completely missing everything.
Yeah. They need to rip the Band-Aid off, and they haven't. They took a step at the Jackson Hole meeting, but we'll see. Oh, if they do 50 basis points on the 21st, which I don't think they will, I'm calling 75. But if they do 50, the freaking stock market's going to go wild. I told you they're weak, they're pivoting, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh my God. We'll see.
Yeah, a good inflation print. The market's, that's the thing. The market is very sensitive to really good news and really bad news, or a
Yeah.
little of both, and it's
Yeah.
kind of working its way. And, it's just going to be interesting to see how these things play out. But yeah, if the war in Ukraine ends anytime soon, man, that's going to be very huge for economies around the world.
Yeah.
But again, it's also going to be inflationary.
Yeah. Let's all hope for all of our sakes it does end. And we could just put this situation behind us, in Europe can get, all the bad stuff can just suddenly turn good. Greg, have a wonderful day. Thanks for doing this from the road.
Yeah, we'll see you.